This is the story of a man who is a detective and goes in search of something, but ends up in a tribe where there is a custom. If an outsider comes, he must fall in love with one of the girls in the tribe. We will see what happens next in the story. At the beginning of the story, we meet a man named Peter, who is an animal detective. He is climbing a mountain and comes across a bird's nest where a bird is starving. Peter, out of kindness, feeds the bird from his own food. Peter is accompanied by a monkey. During his journey, he also picks up a raccoon. However, when the raccoon looks down, it gets scared and its rope breaks. Peter manages to catch it, but the raccoon slips from his hands and falls to its death. Devastated by this, Peter retires from his job and goes to a monastery in Tibet. At the monastery, a man named Johnson is looking for him. Johnson meets a master there and asks about Peter. The master takes Johnson to meet Peter, and when Johnson sees him, he is astonished to find Peter sitting among many animals. After this, Johnson pleads for Peter's help, asking him to find some lost animals, offering him a reward of $20,000. At first, Peter refuses, but when he hears the amount, he is tempted. Despite this, Peter still refuses, but the master convinces him, saying he is the only one who can do this job. Peter then questions how he can continue his religious practices, and the master gives him a locket, which he had obtained 80 years ago. After receiving the locket, Peter agrees to go with Johnson. The people in the monastery are happy about Peter's decision, and they begin to celebrate. Peter, on the other hand, remarks that he has never seen them do this before, as they had been quite irritated with him, and now they are celebrating his departure. Johnson tells Peter to take a plane, but Peter insists on meeting him downstairs and leaves. Later, Peter sneaks away and comes downstairs as well. Eventually, both board the plane and head to Lebanon in Africa. After arriving, Peter takes a car and drives off. The road is rugged and wild, so Peter opts for a shortcut. He navigates through several potholes before finally flipping his car into a makeshift parking spot. Once there, Peter notices animals being killed and trained. At that moment, a man training a horse approaches him. Peter grabs the man's whip and strikes him with it, saying, "Does it hurt? That's how the horse feels when you hit it." Johnson then introduces Peter to the man. Observing the man's shoes, Peter comments, "These shoes are from the black market in Africa." The man, named Vincent, feels insulted by this remark. They proceed inside, where a party is taking place. At the party, Peter meets the king. Spotting a couple, Peter notices a woman wearing a fox fur scarf. He questions her choice, asking why she's wearing it. The lady responds, "You should try it. It's fun." This sparks an idea in Peter's mind. He punches the woman's husband, knocking him unconscious, and wears the fur scarf himself. He begins singing and dancing, startling everyone at the party. Vincent becomes furious with Peter, drags him to a room, and confronts him about his behavior. In the scene where they meet the security chief named Hitu, he begins explaining the situation by showing them a video. During this explanation, Peter starts behaving inappropriately, which amuses Johnson, though he tries to control his laughter. Meanwhile, Vincent gets angry at Peter's antics, but Peter, being himself, mocks Vincent. Vincent then takes Peter to another room and sarcastically tells him to enjoy himself. As Peter enters the room, he notices animal masks hanging around, and this sight makes him start making strange noises. Frustrated, Peter says, "This is a dying love room," bids goodbye, and leaves. As they step outside, they notice an elephant following them, but they quickly drive a jeep into the jungle. There, they hear the sound of gorillas, and Peter comments, "What a lovely song." Johnson advises they should move on as it is the gorilla mating season. Soon after, Peter's monkey companion, Spice, joins him. While on their journey, Johnson explains Peter's next task. He must find the sacred bat, Shikaka, of the fish tribe, which was once part of the princess's dowry, but went missing. The two then reach a village belonging to the Atua tribe, which has been residing there for thousands of years. Johnson points out a man standing on a platform, identifying him as one of the tribe's warriors undergoing a 5-day-long test. Peter, in his usual manner, starts shaking the platform and declares, "I'm testing him myself!" After that, Johnson takes him to the tribal chief, where the chief spits on his face. Just then, the chief's son arrives and also spits on the chief's face, saying that he likes him. At this point, Peter starts acting strangely. After a while, the four of them leave, and the chief and his son follow them. All four have spit on their faces, meaning a deep bond was created inside. Now Peter begins to annoy everyone again. Later that night, when all the tribe members are busy at a party, Peter sneaks into their secret room and messes with their belongings. After this, he meets the princess, who tries to seduce Peter by pulling down her dress, but Peter says something that makes her embarrassed. When Johnson unexpectedly comes to Peter, he is relaxing at the time. Peter tells him to meet after 10 minutes. Later, Peter and Johnson go into a cave to find the sun, where Peter goes alone ahead. Then Peter screams in fear and comes running out, bringing with him a feather of the sun, which belonged to Quinn. Peter says that this is proof of the sun's existence. Johnson praises him. The next day, Peter reaches a safari park, where he follows Quinn, who is eating and living with animals. After this, Peter climbs into an electronic rhino. He starts following Quinn, and because of the heat inside, Peter begins to take off his clothes. Meanwhile, Quinn and Johnson leave as well. Peter then gets stuck inside the rhino and notices a hole behind it. He tries to escape through it, but just then, people wandering in the jungle arrive, and they think a rhino gives birth to a man, and Peter somehow escapes. Meanwhile, Johnson captures Spice the monkey, but Spice knocks Johnson unconscious with a shot. When Johnson regains consciousness, he finds Peter sitting in front of him and asks about the bet, but Peter tells him he didn't find it. In the next scene, Peter is shown running through a jungle while someone attacks him with arrows. Peter gets hit and falls unconscious. When he wakes up, he finds himself with a princess, where Johnson also arrives. Johnson asks Peter if he saw who shot the arrows, but Peter says he only saw the attacker's feet. The princess then says that the arrows belong to Vajatu Samant, a man who opposes their tribe. Peter decides to meet the man, and the princess secretly follows him. Peter disguises himself by wearing their masks and tries to blend in with the group. However, they recognize him and capture him, considering him an enemy. At that moment, Uda arrives. Peter asks Uda to translate his words to the people, but Uda twists his words, causing the tribe to grow angrier. They tell Peter that if he passes the Vajatu test, they won't kill him. The tests begin, and Peter starts passing each one successfully. However, the final challenge is the Circle of Death, where Peter has to fight a member of the Vajatu tribe. The fight begins, and Peter is badly beaten. The opponent throws a spear at Peter's leg, injuring him. Peter asks Uda for another spear, but Uda hands him one that accidentally strikes his other leg. Seeing this, everyone around bursts into laughter at Peter's plight. The next day, the Vajatu tribe releases Peter, as they have now become good friends. However, they make it clear that if they don't find the bat, they will fight again. As Peter leaves, he examines the arrow stuck in him and realizes it was the Vajatu tribe's doing. He warns Uda to stay cautious. In the following scene, two Australian hunters are seen crafting the same tranquilizer arrow, and the white bat is caged with them. Peter tracks them down and imitates the sound of a female gorilla. The hunters, thinking a gorilla is nearby, follow the sound to capture it. Meanwhile, Peter reaches the cage where the bat is kept. However, as soon as he turns around, he is tranquilized and loses consciousness. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself floating in water, tied alongside Spice, his animal companion. Spice escapes to a tree, leaving Peter to drift toward a crocodile. A fight ensues between Peter and the crocodile. Peter then meditates and connects with his master to seek guidance. His master provides him with some insights about the situation. Peter returns to Vincent and Hitu and questions them about the white bat. Vincent denies having the bat, but Peter reveals he already knows the truth, because when they first met, Peter noticed Vincent's shoes and realized he had the white bat. Peter then asks Hitu to sing a song, but Hitu refuses. At that moment, the two Australian hunters arrive with the white bat. Upon seeing them, Peter acts strangely, leading Hitu to arrest him and escort him outside to put him in the car. Suddenly, an elephant arrives, pushes Hitu aside, and takes Peter with it. The elephant calls its companions, and soon a large number of animals storm into Vincent's office. There, they start attacking the four men. Seeing this, Vincent grabs the cage with the white bat, jumps into a car, and drives away. Peter, on the other hand, gets into a large truck and chases after him. During the chase, Vincent's car crashes into a tree, causing the cage with the white bat to fly out and get stuck on a nearby tree. Vincent escapes from there. Meanwhile, two tribal groups, Vajati and Vajatu, are about to fight each other when Peter arrives with the white bat. Seeing the bat, both tribes bow down. Uda then chases after Vincent to catch him, but a gorilla catches Uda instead and drags him behind a tree, where it starts engaging in playful antics with him. In the end, the prince and princess get married. Later, the prince runs out of his honeymoon room, screaming. Peter asks Johnson why the prince is behaving this way. Johnson explains that the prince is upset because his wife said he isn't a virgin. After hearing this, Peter starts running away, and the tribespeople chase after him. And with this, the movie ends.